Hello and welcome to Stratocast, the BattleTech podcast by the UK Southeast Group. And today we are going to be looking at A Time of War. My name's Stuart, Stratocast Level 3, and I'm here to help you with different resources to help play the game. Now, Time of War is the RPG, or one of the two RPGs for the BattleTech game. The other one being BattleTech Destiny, which is more of a light touch RPG. Designed for more narrative play, whereas the Time of War is your more classic and I would call crunchy RPG. But, you know, having played a few RPGs, I don't think it's all that crunchy. There are lots of different things you can do with it. Now, I've only really started going into this for a little while, and we've come up with this great idea of combining a campaign operations multiplayer game with A Time of War to create the characters. So we're going one step more down that rabbit hole of BattleTech, where not only are we going to have some Total Warfare games, which is what the whole basis of a campaign is going to be, but we're also going to manage the company using Mech HQ to do all the paper, do all the electronic, the roles for us and that out of session or between sessions. And finally, we are actually going to back all this up with a little bit of RPG. Mainly at the beginning, it's going to be Total War, but we're going to do some kind of side quests, some kind of interesting bits in between the kind of Total War sessions where we have some RPG sessions. And so we've decided to make all of the characters, all of the mech warriors to start off with, in our company of 12 mechs, so our mercenary company. We're basing this in the 3151 time, which means you have to adjust Total War a bit because Total Warfare is based in 3075, I think is the date that they say in the book. So of course there are a few things that you need to nudge here and there to get it to work. Nothing serious, just kind of fluff decisions. So for instance, Hatred Comstar doesn't quite exist because Comstar doesn't exist, so Hatred Comstar could become Hatred Republic of the Sphere, although there isn't much of them left either. So we're going to have a look at this spreadsheet I've put together. It's not perfect. You can see it's on version 10. We went through some different versions as I was designing it and getting used to the rules and actually what they do and what they actually are. And it still isn't complete. I'm still going to go back and add in things for special pilot abilities and things, but it is more or less there for all of the basic rules, and we've actually made 11 characters, and this is the 12th character from 11 different character generations. So it's been a little bit of a quest, and I've been helped out by George, who's made some of the characters and also helped point out the rules as well, and we're using that to help make sure that we're doing this right. So let's start by, well, I'm not going to put any screenshots of the book on here. Again, I don't want to have any problems with copyright, but let's start with the basic concept. So we're using the method, and there's two different methods of character generation. We're using a method called a life modules character creation. Now, if you're really an old folk like me, you might remember a system called Traveller. Traveller is infamous because you could die before you reached the end of character generation. Now, unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I quite find it was quite fun. But you can't do that in A Time of War. You can't die during character generation, but you certainly have to progress through different life stages, and each life stage adds to your story. And it's what I love about this, it's a very narrative idea of how you create a character. It's not just putting some numbers down. You very much write the story in your background, literally by what you choose. So the character I'm going to choose, and we've made the decision that all of the characters are going to be mech warriors. But there are different ways to reach that goal. But the character we're going to make is going to be a soldier, kind of special forces, Marine Force recon sort of person who started life in a periphery, backwater planet, just basically, and what's it called? It is Spinwards of the Lyran Commonwealth, in the realms that basically used to be world, the Rimworld's Republic, but have pretty much been abandoned. The ones that weren't good enough to be taken into the Lyran Alliance. And so let's go through the different character creation parts, and we start basically, we're using 5,000 experience for this character. This is the recommended amount. We've actually made 2 other characters types. So we've made the company leader, who was a 7,000 XP character, and that worked really well. And we made 2 lieutenants who were 6,000 XP, and that worked quite well. So it is flexible. You could basically decide that, you know, not all of the characters in your campaign have to have the same experience. You know, some actually might be older, some might be younger. So having some variable experience is an interesting way of approaching that situation. So you've got basically 3 different areas to pay XP into. You've got attributes, you've got traits, and you've got skills. And you've got 8 attributes there: strength, body, reflexes, dex, intelligence, willpower, charisma, edge. Traits, kind of, you're probably familiar with that from D&D, and all different things are just different abilities your character has, or different resources. So this is where you're going to decide what sort of mech your character has. And finally, skills. And there's a skill list on this spreadsheet of all the skills here. Formatted this one yet, but basically skills are linked to either 1 or 2 attributes, have a base target number which depends on whether they're a complex skill or a simple skill, and take a different amount of time. So complex and taking a full action, or simple skills that take a short action. I won't go into that just now. So I'm going back to the character sheet, and the first decision we have to make is already made for us, actually, so it's not a decision. Is being born. There we go. So you're born and you start off with 850 XP, and this is the kind of first bit of XP you're given, which just sets up the basic of the character. And the basic of the character is that they get 100 in all of their attributes, and then they get 50 XP in this. So that adds up to 850 XP. You get 20 in your primary language, which we're going to say is German. And secondary language, we're going to say it's English. Usually you can do that the other way around. It doesn't really matter, actually. But where he grew up, German was the predominant language. Perception, again, you get to start that one off as well. And you get an XP rating. Now, the way this spreadsheet works is you basically enter the amount of XP you get in these columns, and it works it all out, adds it to the skill. And the way you work out what level of skill you get, because skills are in level starting at 0, is you look at the table over here, which I'll make a bit bigger, which basically says for standard skills that a 20 experience will buy you level 0. If you don't have level 0, you are untrained, all the way up to the maximum achievable, which is level 10. So next stage, we've been born, we've got some base skills, and we have to choose our background. And this is basically choosing where you were born in the inner sphere, and it can be anywhere from the 5 great houses, and it could also include the periphery states, clans, either homeworld or invading, deep periphery, so Jarl folk, and all sorts of different things there. And we're going to go for the independent. And independent is a catch-all at the end, which basically it covers all sorts of different areas. And we're going to go for a generic independent world. So each one of the different faction starters has a sub-faction as well. So for instance, you can come from the Lyra in a current Commonwealth, and you come from Boland or Coventry, and again they'll give you slightly different variants. Now you might be wondering why this system is good rather than just spending the XP, because it narrates the story of the character. You also get slightly more XP than you put in for a lot of these things, and it helps to just path out the character rather than just I'll use that term, min-max to the best possible results you could get. I'm sure there probably are ways you can min-max this, but it's a very good if you're invested in this, in your character, to actually make this up and follow the path. So we start off by looking in the book, and this is on page 73. We're looking for independent, and it costs us 50 XP for this module. So the module is basically your section of life, and this is from 0 to basically 0 to 9. And this also is we're going to track age later. It's not so important at the moment. And the first thing we can see is we've got willpower plus 20. So we just basically type these in the rows as we go. We've got edge plus 20. So those are the two attributes. We've got traits equipped. So I've got a drop down system here, so I can go in and choose equipped, which is not in alphabetical because these are called variable traits. They're in the middle. So you've got positive traits, negative traits, and flexible traits, which can be either. This is minus 20. Reputation. Nobody apparently likes someone who is from the middle of nowhere. So reputation is, again, a variable trait. Minus 10. And these are all little things at the start, but they all kind of add up at the end. And we'll show you how that works in the end. You get appreciation after doing a few of these characters, how the system helps drive the narrative path in certain directions. And wealth, we've got wealth minus 10. Everyone's dirt poor in the periphery. Okay, so there we go. That's our fixed XPs, and then we choose a sub-affiliation, and the sub-affiliation we're going to choose is a generic sub-affiliation. So I can just type in here that this is an independent generic. So now it is possible to choose more than one affiliation, so you can change halfway through. It gets a bit complicated because then you've got to add up. You've got to half all of the XPs and then add together the two costs and half them. The only one that doesn't apply to is Comstar. Comstar you just add on as an additional life block. So you get that in addition, Comstar or Word of Blake. But otherwise, normally it's just easy, just take a single one. And you can change your affiliation anytime you want through this process. Later on in the character generation, it's just a narrative choice. So we've got primary language any, secondary language any, from the nearest state, and then we've got body plus 20. And again, each column is a separate part. This is why it's useful, this sheet, because each column is one section in the character generation. Will 10. Charisma minus 30. Apparently not too friendly. Pain resistance 10. You've got to be tough when you're living out in the middle of nowhere. Reputation again, minus 30. Toughness, plus 10. Toughness. Skills, language any, plus 10. So we go down to skills. So we'll have language German, plus 10. Negotiation 5. Put negotiation down here. Perception plus 15. And then choosing 3 from the following. So that's an interesting one. So we can choose acting, escape artist, martial arts, melee weapon, and small arms. Got to shoot those varmints. So I'm going to choose, let's go for martial arts, melee weapons, and small arms. This guy started off life using weapons. That's the sort of place we want this character to go. Martial arts, melee weapons, always carries around a knife, and small arms. Apparently the dingoes get very big on this farm. Okay, so each of those is at 10. And that brings us to the end of the first block, which is the early life block. There are also some notes here at the bottom, so none of those notes apply to this character. But independent includes, you've got a few different type of independent worlds. It also includes mercenaries. If you wanted to play a character who grew up with mercenaries, you can include that. You've also got the pirate realm of Tortuga. You've got generic pirate. You've got spacer, which is great, so you can actually grown up on a jump ship. And Talos, I have no idea what that is. So lots of different ideas there, or you can just choose the generic one like I did. So that's early chart. That's stage 0, which is just choosing the affiliation. Early childhood, sorry, stage 1 is what we're getting onto now. There's no flex XP for this one. Some of them got flex XP. Flex XP means you're given an extra amount of XP and you can spend it on anything, and it can be new skills or attributes or traits. It doesn't have to be existing ones. It took me a while to find that in the rules, but it can be anything, so that's quite useful when you get flex XP. So that's why we've got a separate column for flex XP in each one of these things, because flex XPs, when they're awarded, can be given to anything. So we've got here stage 1, so I'm going to put stage 1 up here, stage 1, and we're going to choose that this person came from the backwoods. The backwoods, basically raised in the country in remote parts, lives in a hardy but unrefined and uneducated life. Maybe he was the son of a lumberjack who was using, well, that's quite a good idea, a lumberjack who used a timber, one of these chainsaw mechs, I can't remember what they're, crosscut industrial mech. I think that's a great little idea. It's actually one of the things I like about this. It gives you little prompts when you're designing characters to think about what happens to them. And this actually costs 290, oh, that's the wrong cell. This costs 290 experience points. So it's quite a big one. They vary in cost. So you've got backwoods, blue collar, born a mercenary brat, farm, fugitives, nobility, slave, street, trueborn crash, which is of course only clans, war orphan, and white collar. So let's start at the beginning here. So we've got for this. Now all modules can have a prerequisite. Now prerequisites are really important. It took me a while to get my head around this, but the prerequisites mean that you have to have the prerequisites by the end of character generation, not necessarily at the start when you take the module. So it's not when you take the module, it's at the end. So by the end of character generation, I need to ensure that this character has a strength of 4+, and has a body of 5+. Have to be a big fella. Okay. Could be female. Could make the character female. Be a bit of a change to the stereotype. Oh, I can't type. There we go. And I've got a little handy thing on the character sheet here for you to make a note of the prerequisites, so you don't forget them, because it's quite easy to get to the end and then forget all the prerequisites that you had to take and then realise you're not going to meet them and have to change the character. So attributes, we've got 100 extra in strength, useful, 100 extra in body, reflexes extra 75, intelligence not too valued in this area of the woods, -25, charisma, again pretty gruff, -50, equipped again -50, so basically this person is going to have a sharp stick rather than anything useful. Fit +100, healthy outdoors lifestyle. Fit, okay. Illiterate, this is an important one, and I'll talk about this trait in a minute. You can actually just type in rather than using the drop down box, but it only accepts the exact text. You can't type in anything there. So illiterate, and illiterate is at, I've lost my place. Here we go. Illiterate -75. Toughness 75, and we've already got toughness before, so this is going to add to toughness. Now note how these are totaling here in this total XP column, and so as we're adding them up, it's totaling those up. And we've got wealth -75. Again, all these concepts will all come together at the end, so if you're not following, don't worry. At the end, it'll all kind of gel together to make sense. It's all about just going through the steps. So language, right, this time it's going to be -5. Martial arts +10. Melee weapons +10. Navigation ground, that's a new one. It's quite a common skill amongst soldiers, so knowing where you're going, what side of the tree is the moss on. +10. Perception +5. Running +10. Oh. Typing it into the wrong cell. When I designed this sheet, I thought about just putting all of the skills on it, and actually thought it'd be quicker and easier not to put all of the skills and just select them as you went through. Survival any, so we're going to have survival woods. I'm resisting the temptation to hum the lumberjack song. Woods. Percent. And all the narrations coming together about what this character is going to be. Oh, and tracking wilds. 10. Track those alien deer. These are sub skills, so any skill that has a slash behind it, where it says /any or /clans or /affiliation, has to be chosen from a list. So that's the end of the fixed XPs. Now we've got 25 XP for 2 flex attributes or traits. So this is where we use this column here. We've got flex, and so I'm going to say that he's going to have, ooh, and this has changed to swimming. It does this sometimes because it's on this rotor. You accidentally nudge it. So this shouldn't be swimming. It should be survival, not swimming in the woods. Okay, so going to have 25 XP, and we're going to make this a strong guy. He's going to be, or strong woman. There you go. I have 25 extra XP in that. And we're going to go for 25 extra XP in toughness. I'll explain a bit more, but toughness, we've got to get it to 300 XP for it to work, because it's got a 3 point. It's oh no, it's only a 1. No, it's free. So free to be, where it says active, it means the amount of points you need for it to be active. So at the moment, there is no skill 1 in toughness. You have to get to 3. Some have variable amounts, so they can be at any value, like reputation or rank. Some have got very fixed amounts that you absolutely have to achieve, otherwise you don't get that. So that's the early childhood module, and that takes us to kind of the age of up to 10 years old, and then we've got the late childhood. So late childhood is 11 through to 16, and again we're going to choose the same module because it's a different module, but there are different modules to choose. But we're going to keep with the same theme, the backwoods module, and the ones you can get on this one are adolescent warfare, backwoods, clan apprenticeship. So if you're not necessarily a mech warrior. Farm, freeborn Sibco, high school, mercenary brat, military school, prep school, spacer family, street, trueborn Sibco. Those are the ones available in this book. There are more, I think, scattered around other books. So this module is going to cost 500, and you can see these are being taken off of the XP, coming up on the spent XP here. Age modifier I'll explain a bit later, and this has got a prerequisite of none, interestingly, so it doesn't have any extra prerequisites. And we'll start off with bod of +60, we breathe and big in the woods. Will of 70. Int of -20. Interesting trait here, animal empathy. So that's not a very common one in this. +50. Good hearing. That's another interesting trait. Good hearing. Good hearing. +40. Introvert, likes to be alone in the woods. So there we go. Introvert, -20. Wealth, already got this one, so -20. Skills, climbing, .30. MedTech General, which is kind of your first aid skill. Be quite a good one for him to have. Melee weapons, which we've already got. And oh, I've been putting this in the wrong column. Let's just move this across. So climbing, medtech, what other ones was there? Climbing, medtech. Those ones are in the right column. Okay, haven't completely messed this up. So climbing, medtech, melee weapons 20, perception 45, protocol, which is your kind of etiquette, I would guess. Certainly, I think every other character I've made, protocol's been one of the first skills I've got. This one being the type of character he is, doesn't have much to. Oh, and the protocol is -15. So, and you've got to choose an affiliation for this. So we're going to call this protocol Lyran because he's quite close to Lyran worlds, but shows he's very bad at it. Small arms +20. Stealth, new one, +40. Survival forest, which we've already got. Oh, it's called woods, so change that to forest, 25. Let's keep the naming correct, so they call that forests. Tracking, wilds, +30. Oh, moved that by mistake. The undo button is a great invention. There you go, +30. So, now we've got 125 of flexible XP, and we can spend this any way we want. But one skill I want to introduce quite early on, because he's going to end up being a BattleTech pilot, is piloting mech. And he's going to learn a bit about piloting his father's, let's give 20 to start off with, crosscutter. I'll put that in the flexible column. let's go for, and again, you just really feel your way through where you want to put these. I'm going to put a bit more in toughness, because toughness costs quite a lot. So I'm going to have 40 points in toughness. So already halfway there. So that's 40, and I've spent about 60 points. Got another 80 to go. We'll go for, let's start beefing up the strength here. Got number 55 in strength. So that's 60, 115. Gives me 25 left. And 25 maybe in a skill. He's already becoming quite a good shot, so let's give him 25 in small arms. On the spreadsheet you can see what it does is it tells you, I haven't pressed return yet because it tells you what's the total amount of XP for next level, how it matches this column. So you're on 30 XP, you need 50 XP for the next level, and the difference is this, 4 next is 20 unspent. So if you've overspent from the previous level, then you've got leftover XP, which we'll talk about later how it gets sorted. So at the moment you can see that the skill level is 2, I've spent 55 XP, the next level will cost, the previous level cost 50, the next level will cost 80, so I need 25 for the next level, and there's 5 unspent. So that's the completion of the backwards late childhood module. Now interestingly, you could leave it there because step 3 and step 4 are optional. So step 3 is higher education, so you could say he hasn't gone to school and just go to step 4, and or you could say he's done neither and leave it at that. So you know it's a quite an interesting different approaches to this, and in which case you just go off and you just spend your rest of your XP, and also you would remain at 16 because at the end of this you are 16. Difficulty of this is in the optional rules there's an age rating change, which means the basic age for characters should be 21, and for every 1 year below 21 you've got minus 100 XP, and for every 1 year above 21 you've got plus 100 XP. So if you're 16 you've got minus 500 XP, and it would be a bit weird to have a 16-year-old Marine, so I'm not going to do that, but it's an interesting one for creating different characters. Like if you wanted to create a 16-year-old pickpocket who just happens to be on a ship, you could do that. It's very flexible, and it's not just for creating mech warriors, although obviously it is BattleTech, but there are lots of characters, and one of the systems we're going to introduce for our campaign is something which I've used in other systems called a character tree, where people actually have multiple characters that they can switch between. So one of the characters will be a primary mech warrior, and then the other character can be a technician, or it can be a doctor, or it can be a soldier, but someone else in the mech warrior company. And that's something we're gonna look at, so people can choose what characters, particularly for that scenario, they want to use, and also it shakes things up. People don't feel they have to play the same character every time. Gives a little bit of variation. So we're going to do stage 3. Now in stage 3 there's a really important rule. So stage 3 is higher education, basically master schooling. So from the age of 16 to plus, because it takes a varying amount of time at this point. And this point, age determines how many years you're going to spend in. You take a variety of courses. And there are 3 types of schools: civilian, intelligence, and military. And then a 4th special one called officer, which you can only get if you've done military or intelligence. It's intelligence stroke police. So civilian, intelligence, police, or military. Now you can't repeat the same schools. You couldn't go to 2 civilian schools, you couldn't go to 2 intelligence, you couldn't go to 2 military, but you could theoretically start with a civilian, then do an intelligence, then do a military, and end up in officer training. But you can't do 3 military careers. So you start by picking the basic ones. So civilian has tech college, trade school, university, Solaris internship. Okay, which is a really interesting one for a civilian school. So that's a good example of how you might take a military school, then civilian. Intelligence, you've got police, intelligence, operative. In military, you've got military academy, which is for your big things like battle mechs and aerospace fighters. And but military enlistment is the more kind of how can I say, military enlistment is the more physical kind of Marine Corps type approaches. And then you've got an odd one, which is family training, where you're trained by an affluent member of the family, or maybe a mech warrior from an existing mercenary company trained you personally. And an officer candidate school gives you access to officer ranks, which is really important when you're trying to put a place in your company of battle mechs. So we're going to go for a straightforward military enlistment. So at the age of 16, he shipped off to the local. Can I spell? No. He shipped off to the local militia, and which on this world was probably indistinguishable from the police, because they probably fulfilled the same role. So this costs 720 plus field cost, and I'll explain field costs in a minute and what fields mean. So we don't add any age yet, and we start off with the basics. It's got prerequisites, none, and then you've got attributes, and the attributes are very physically based on this one. So you've got 125 strength, 125 bod, 100 reflexes. The Marines made him a man. 100 XP, charisma minus 100, but obviously not a very talkative one. We'll come back to minus, because that's going to be a problem, because we can't end with minus, but I'll come to explain that later. Equipped, they've given him a backpack and a rifle, so now he's got plus 50 on equipment rather than the minus 65 he's on. Rank, so this is the first introduction to rank and what rank means, and we'll talk about that when we get to the end. But for purposes of this character, we want, this is what I said, it won't accept you typing in anything. You have to type in exactly what it is. Rank. And swimming. Apparently one of the things they teach you in military enlistment is to swim. Oh, just noticed that should be plus 20. So swimming plus 20. And flexible, quite a lot of XP here, so 200 XP in flexible. And again, it's for anything. So I can go back up here and I can say, right, I continue to want to make him a little bit better in his attributes. So I'm going to give him 25 points more reflexes, which is for firearms. Oh, no, wrong one. And I think his willpower is going to be important, so I'm going to give him 20 there. So far that's 45, and I can generally boost my skills in small arms. Let's go for, again, picking arbitrary amounts here, 25, it'll even out later. Martial arts 25, melee weapons 25, running, yeah, running is important, 25, that's 100, so I've spent 100 and 145. So I've got 30 and a 25 left. And let's go for another 25 in survival. And 30 in perception, because this guy's going to be a scout. That's the idea. He's going to be someone who's scouting ahead. So we're going to put some definite points into perception. So now that's the end of the automatic skills. Now you've got to choose fields. Now you can choose between 1 and 3 fields. They are basic, advanced and special. Everyone has to take basic training, and basic training comes in several forms, either ground-based basic training or naval basic training. most of characters end up with the former. There's also officer basic training, but in this case you can just take basic training on board a ship, so basic training naval, or basic training ground. Okay, it's just called basic training for ground. And then you've got advanced training. Now the basic training itself takes 0.5 years, so just 6 months basic training. 0.5. And then you can choose to stop there, or you can go on to advanced, and then you can choose again to stop there, or you could go on to specialist, or you can take advanced twice. So this took me a little while to find in the rules. Everyone has to do basic. You don't have to do advanced, you don't have to do specialist, but you can't do specialist unless you've done advanced. But you could do advanced twice, okay, in 2 different fields, but you can't take the same field twice. You can't do advanced infantry training twice. But you could do advanced infantry training and advanced marine training, which are 2 advanced skills. And you can't take 2 specialist skills, nor can you take 2 advanced and 1 specialist and no basic. That doesn't work. So our basic training, this is stage 3 again. So let's go to stage 3 just to keep track of everything. Now in this, there's a table which I've kind of marked out in here. It's good to have a few bookmarks for some of these tables because you're constantly using them. And this table is called the Master Skill Field List. Now field is a group of skills that are associated with a particular profession. Also, I like, because I'm doing this on Excel, I like to choose a colour scheme. I'm going to choose green for army, because this way you can track what the basic skills are so you don't forget, and it's easy to find them. And the basic skills are for basic training. If I look on page 94, first it's got a requirement. So the requirement is intelligence, 3+, and will, 3+. And so I'll go back and I'll put those into these so we don't forget. So I3, you can already see we're below intelligence, is really going to have to study hard. Obviously not his forte. And then you've got career soldier. The career skill is basically if you want to know any knowledge test about being that, or what would a soldier do in that situation, or what would, oh, I put it in the wrong thing, that's a trait, it's a skill. What would a soldier do in this case? And there's careers, detective, any career has a thing. So they are general knowledge skills that are quite appropriate for lots of role-playing tests. And you get 30 XP for each one. Okay, but they only cost you 24 XP. So I'll show you where to put that in a minute. So they give you 30 XP, but they only cost 24. So I'm going to mark that in green. And then you've got martial arts, which you've already got. So I'm going to highlight it green. And I'm going to put that down as 30. And then you've got MedTech General, which you've already got. But again, I'll mark that. Because later on you can only take certain skills that are in your fields that you know, using flexible XP. So that's 30. Navigation ground, which you've already got. This guy was born to be a marine, or in the infantry, I think, not a marine. Navigation ground, there we go. Navigation ground, it's 30. And small arms, which we've already got. Small arms as opposed to long arms. And that's 30. Okay, so that's the basic training done. Our next training is going to be advanced. And it's going to be infantryman training. Oh, cost, right. So the cost for these is 24 per skill. So you just easily just type 24 times by 5, because there are 5 skills. So it costs 120 instead of costing 150. So you get kind of a discount on the skills packages. Advanced training takes 1.5 years, and in this case allows us to choose from cavalry, infantry, marine, medical assistant, police officer, scout, ship's crew, and technicians military. So already I can see that the two I'm going to take for this guy are going to be infantry and scout. So here's advanced training. So I'm going to have to go back to the skill field page. For infantry is, let's just find infantry. Here we go. Acrobatics, free fall. So a bit of jumping out of trees apparently. Acrobatics, free fall, 30. Artillery. You gotta know what artillery is when you call it in. Danger close. Most of our games, whenever we have artillery, it does just as much damage to the players as to the actual. I'll put that one in the wrong space. To the actual enemy, or in case some more in some cases. Medtech. Oh no, wrong one. Looking at climbing. Got to get over that rope. Climbing. 30. Comms conventional. So there are lots of different types of comms. Comms, hand signals. Comms. Oh, it's communications. I don't think this is a huge character sheet. You actually don't need, when you're actually like printing it off, to actually print the whole thing off. You just need to print the bit on the left. So comms, conventional 30, support weapons, so you kind of big machine guns, portable support PPCs, it's got an S in it, support weapons, there we go, 30, and finally tactics infantry. Tactics is an important skill because if you're commanding people, you can use it. You can use it to add to initiative. So it's your initiative bonus. So all of those ones there. All going to get a different colour. So I'm going to put that colour as a darker green for army and climbing as well. And colour that the same way. It's a nice little way of keeping track. So advanced infantry. Now I could leave it there and not carry on with that. And this one I've got 6 skills. So I've got to do 24 times 6. Why I love doing this on spreadsheets, makes the maths a lot easier. That's stage 3 again. You can end up running out of these columns, so I've put plenty in here, but you can end up running out of them and having to copy and paste more of them in, which you have to do in a certain way because otherwise the formulas don't transfer across. And the last one's going to be scout. So advanced scout. We'll do that in the next shade of green down. And advanced scout gets you what? What does advanced scout get you? Being sneaky, I guess. There we go. Oh, this one requires basic field training, int 4, wheel 3. So there's nothing new there, so I'm not going to add it. Also, you can't be illiterate. That's going to be a pain. Well, that'll be important later because we're going to have to remove this illiteracy, and there is a way to do that. So we need comms conventional, scouts have to communicate, disguise, obviously got to put that, got to look like a tree, Language any. So actually that's quite important because we're going to put that into German. I can see this person's going to have trouble speaking English. Security system any. So obviously scouting any. I'm not sure what different types of security systems there are. So I'll have to look that one up. Security systems. And I'll put here /any so I know to go back and change that. Stealth, the obvious one. And I'll just go and mark these so I don't forget. So mark those two, and language. Streetwise, which is kind of obvious, and that's actually tends to be, this is any, so it tends to be to a planet. I think it's going to put Lyra, but I think it tends to be to an exact planet. It doesn't always make it useful because I think you'd get a minus if you were trying to do it streetwise on a planet you weren't from. And tracking, which we've already got. And we'll keep it as wilds. Now at this point I could take tracking different. I could take a different tracking skill. And you can have skills like, for instance, of course, piloting. You can have piloting mech. You can have piloting aerospace. You know, so there are anything that's a slash can be different. Tactics, infantry tactics, ground tactics, battle mech are different skills. So that brings us to the end of the allowed amount of training you can take for military enlistment. At this point you could go to officer training school, but this guy is not officer material, I don't think. And you could go to the civilian school on top of that, or to the police school. But we're going to go to real life. So we're going to go to step 4. So step 4 is now real life. And that's another 1.5 years. So we've had so many years. Here we go. He's 19 and a half. And he's fresh out of the academy. Getting to 21 is important. Getting after 21 and getting to 25 and 31 are the next milestones for aging effects. So you do get aging effects if you get your character to be older. So stage 4, we're going to go straight into the tour of duty. So tours of duty is a quite often used module for people that are in the armed forces, and it's a 3-year tour of duty, and it gives you quite lots of different things. So the different things that you can have are, for stage 4 life modules, are agitator, civilian job, clan watch operative, clan warrior washout, cloister training, which is a really weird one, to clan cloud cobra, say that 3 times fast, combat correspondent, Comstar Word of Blake, covert operations, dark cast, explorer, Goliath, scorpion seeker, guerrilla insurgent, merchant, neo-dual, organised crime, postgraduate studies, protomech training, scientist cast, Solaris insider, Solaris 7 games, think tank, tour of duty, to serve and protect, and travel. So there's lots there, and I think there are a few more in different supplements. Now you can take these more than once, but there's a weird thing you have to do if you take them more than once, which I can show you in a minute. So first of all, this is quite expensive. It varies. So 7,000 XP if you're from a periphery affiliation, which he is, I guess, because I guess independent counts as periphery. And 800 XP for inner sphere affiliations and 1,000 XP for clan affiliations. So it's actually, and you prerequisites are you must have at least 1 military skill field. So you could have just basic training, and to get this. So tour of duty is, we're going to say this is a 700 XP module. There's a fixed XP for this. So fixed is going to, the time is 3 years. Put that in the wrong place. It's just age 700 years. 700 cost. Takes 3 years. And we get connection, because you get to know other people in the unit, I guess. You might have old friends from your time on the tour of duty. Connection varies from what you use. You can use it to get money, you can use it to get equipment, you can use it to get information. Equipped or vehicle. At this point, we're going to start taking vehicle, because we're going to need points for his mech, and mechs come under vehicle. That will already get him a light mech, and we're planning on this character only having a light mech, because he's going to be a scout in a scout mech that can also get out of the scout mech and be a scout on foot. So you're going to have career soldier 50. Career soldier 50. Martial arts 40. Navigation ground, or navigation any, but I'm going to choose navigation ground. 40. And protocol, he's finally learning to talk to people with some respect. Protocol 40. Now periphery only. We'll do this one in the same column here. Plus 50 XP to one attribute. So what attribute could do with some XP? I've still got to meet my prerequisite from intelligence, so let's start giving him some more intelligence. 50. Enemy minus 50. So obviously he's ticked somebody off. Great for GMs to hang off plots off of having enemies. Toughness plus 50, so that's going again with the character. And then we're on to skills. Skills, interest any. So interest is an interesting one, another kind of role play skill. And he's going to start taking oh, this is not a trait, sorry, it's a skill. So interest literally can be anything that's a hobby. If it's a profession, then it comes under career. If it's a hobby, it comes under interest. But they could be kind of the same. I'm going to say he's got an interest in forests now. He's not just working in the forest. He finds forests interesting. He's one with the trees. Leadership plus 15. So the first time we've given this character leadership. Not a natural leader, more a follower. MedTech, it's going quite a good MedTech. We've added that quite a few times. Negotiation 25. That's navigation. Negotiation 25, perception plus 15. He's a scout, so we want that, plus 15. And then we've got plus 150 total additional XP with plus 25 XP for each assigned to a maximum of 6 skills the character possesses from his military fields. So this is where it's important we knew which ones his military fields were, because these are really important. Now I'm going to start adding in some 25 XP into German, because that's really important for offsetting illiteracy, and he needs to do that for his to meet his skills. So we're going to give him stealth, we're going to give him medtech because he's going to be quite a good medtech. We're going to give him tactics, So that's 4. Disguise 5. Small arms 6. Martial arts 7. Melee weapons. Actually, we can't take melee weapons because technically I'm giving him 52 here because it's not a military skill. So let's go for navigation. This guy always knows which way the sun is up. There we go. So that's the periphery only, and we also get flexible XP, 100 XP. So basically we just get 100 XP to spend on anything, and this is where we can actually take any skill or any characteristic. So I can take intelligence again, but actually going to take piloting mech. So he's been practicing on some load. He's becoming like a load lifters and the load mechs. He's been certified on those. So we're going to actually keep track of this because his piloting skill is now 4. So he's actually going to be quite a good pilot. Maybe not as good as a gunner because he hasn't got any gunnery skill yet. Because they don't put machine guns on the loading mechs. So now, say you wanted to do the same tour of duty again. He could. Oh, tour of duty is 700. So he's got remaining XP 1,776. The way we'd do it if we want to basically give him another tour of duty is I can just copy everything in here. And paste it, but with the following exceptions. When you repeat a career, you do not get the attribute bonus again, and you do not get the traits again. So that's important. You only get the skills. So you could say in a way you are not benefiting, but you get 2 benefits. One, you get plus 3 years. So now he's literally got another, it only cost him 400 XP, but he's got 300 XP back from being that bit older, from being 25. And this will be the last thing I'm going to give him. So 1 more tour of duty. And then secondly, he gets all of the skills here. And so in total, if we add that up, and I can do that really easy because this is Excel, so I can just highlight all these cells. In total, he gained 555 skill points, which basically means by taking another tour of duty, he's gained 150, no, more than that. Yeah, 155 extra points on top of what it had. So, but I know I can also change these skills where they go. So, for instance, I'm going to take that 100 off there, and these flexible skills I can change. And some of them I'm just going to keep the same because I think a lot of those he wants the same ones. Maybe we'll switch to navigation for tracking, and climbing will switch for medtech. And the 100, what should we give him 100 in? And this could be for anything. Let's give him 100 in perception. Let's maybe split it. So, and maybe we'll introduce the idea that he started to take some courses on gunnery and sensor operations. So gunnery is obvious, but sensor operations are for any kind of sensor test you have to make with the mech or any vehicle, any sort of technological sensor. And so I'm going to give him 50 in each of those. So 50-50. Oh, that actually adds up to too much there. So let's give him 25 in each of those. So that adds up to 100. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lots of 25 and 2 lots and 100 extra. So on non skills that aren't in his military fields. And that is the end of his career, except for one thing: he's gone over the age of 25. So I'm going to add an extra column here called age 25, and when you're 25 you get a cake, you get like a party, but you also get a buff because you get added a load of extra skills, which is right at the back of the book. A load of extra attributes. I can never remember where it is. It's in the experience and characters section, page 333. So the aging table for 25, you get strength plus 50. He's no longer a little weedy boy. He now is a man. So 50, body of 50, reflexes extra 50. Intelligence is 50 extra. Will is 50 extra, and charisma is 50 extra. So you don't get negative traits until you're 41. So 25, 31, and then 41 you get negative traits. Also, if you're a clanner over the age of 31, your reputation starts going down because you are past it. You are Solomar, however you pronounce that. I can never pronounce it right. So he's got some extra boost from being age 25. Now the extra slot here we don't need, so I'm going to click on that and delete it. And that's the end of the basic character generation. I know it would have taken a while to get to this point, but that's the end of the basic character generation, where we have spent, we've gone through our career path, and I could keep going, but I want to have some points remaining left to spend on things that I just want some more flexible points. So the rest of the points here, the 1,376, can be spent completely flexibly. But before we do that, we need to do something called optimization. So the first step of optimization is we have to take everything down to a round skill, and it has to go down. So for attributes, it has to go to a whole number of up to the hundreds. So 475 becomes 470, and then minus 55. And you're not losing these points, so don't worry. They're all going into a pool for you to spend, but this is the way the kind of system balances everything out. For negative numbers here, we have to bring them up to 0. And so we put this in the flex column. So I'm just going to add that there. Minus 50 for that one. And minus 20 for that one. Okay, so attributes can't go below 0. The XP has to be 0 at the most, and you get a score of 1 for having, even if you got 0 XP. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I think maybe you need 100. I'll have to check that in rules. That's something for me to go check, whether you have to still have 100, whether you can't have 0. The traits as well, a bit more complicated now. If it's a negative trait, then you have to go down to the lowest, for the next lowest level. So you don't round it to 0. You go down to minus 100, which means adding 80 more points. Reputation, again, it's got to go minus 60. Wealth, minus 105 means I've got to go all the way down to minus 200. Now, if it's a positive, we just round down again. So we've got minus 10, but I can take these back up again later. 200 is a whole number, so I don't have to worry about that. Illiterate, this is an important one, so he definitely is illiterate at the moment, so we need to correct that in a minute. Animal empathy, which I will take up again because I think it's important for him. Good hearing, again minus 40. And again, don't worry, you can adjust all this later. Introvert, rank stays the same. You can't go down more than one level, so you couldn't, like, yet. You will be able to later, but you couldn't take them down several levels. Introverts, needs to go to minus 100. There we go. Connection, we lose minus 25. This guy's not very well connected. Vehicle stays the same. Enemy goes down to minus 100. And that's that. Skills, a little bit more complicated. This is where this spreadsheet is quite useful because it tells you exactly how many you've got unspent. So basically the number is equal to the amount unspent. So if I had more time to do that, I could even automate this process, but I haven't gone to the trouble of spreadsheeting the automation for that. And in fact, you know, I've considered automating the whole skill system. It'd take a long time to do, but there are some aspects you can't, where you've got multiple skills, you can choose different variations and it wouldn't work. The idea is to basically have these dead on the skill level. I'm not going into slow learner and fast learner in this, but this is an area which is quite important. That slow learner and fast learner cost 300, or slow learner is minus 300, and you change the text here to slow or fast, where it says learner slow fast. It's standard at the moment, and it changes everything about the character, and that's really important. It changes everything about the way they learn. Oh, enemy I've done wrong. Just noticed that should be minus 50. There we go. Minus 10. And even skills here where you've got some XP, we've got 0 there, but you'd have to reduce those down as well. So that's the first step of optimization. Oh, 2 more, minus 5. Minus 5. That's the first step of optimization, and I've just ballooned the amount of points I've got, obviously. And now I'll go back in and spend them all. So I've got 2,456 points to spend now, and it will go quite quickly, especially on attributes. So I've got to, first of all, before I do anything else, meet my requirements. So there we go, 200 in intelligence and willpower. Dex, I really don't want to have Dex as that, so I'm going to take up by 300. Strength and body, I want to be maxed out. I want this guy to be beefcake. And reflexes, again, I'm going to 200 that. This guy's attributes are going to be top notch. Oh, hang on, I put it in the wrong place. Going cross-eyed. There we go. Charisma I'll keep there. That's a good start. Might come back and give him some more edge. I'll see how we go. Next really important thing is rank. Now and I'll just find the page number for this. In the traits section, it tells you the list of ranks. So the 1 TP is a trainee. You got senior trainee, trooper, squad leader, and mech warrior pilot. And we want him to be a mech warrior pilot in our company. So to enable that, we're going to give him 400. So that makes him legitimately a trained mech warrior. So he's basically converted. Now that's okay. This is the bit where it gets a bit fluffy. That he's you know, that flexible XP is gone there to allow him to train. Vehicle, now we can finally decide, and then we can say vehicle is going to be a light battle mech, which is plus 100. But we can also say he owns it, and that costs an extra 2 TP, so 200 extra XP. And there's some advantages to owning your own battle mech, and this is part of the fluff really, that people own, you know, of basically salvaged or owned battle mechs. So we're going to, maybe in his backstory, that he had you know, he'd basically salvaged a battle mech from the field and got someone to fix it up for him. Maybe he's got a best friend who's a technician. Maybe he's a tech himself, I don't know. Probably won't go that far actually. He's not a very techy character. Now, when it comes to negative skills, you can get rid of them, but some are opposed by other things. So for instance, illiteracy is opposed by knowledge in languages. So toughness is the opposite of glass jaw. So if you've got a character who's glass jaw, oh, I forgot to do something actually. Toughness, it because we didn't reach 300, it has to go back to 0. So we have to put minus 200 there. But we can just basically then, and same for fit, we have to put minus 100 there to go down to 0 because we didn't reach the threshold of 2 points. But I'm just going to put those points straight back in and buy those characters, those traits. So now he has access to those traits because he's reached the active threshold, the number of points required. Connection, he hasn't got any connection at the moment. Enemy, we could take more. Now he's got at the moment minus 300 points in traits. He can have up to minus 500 by choice. Now this is the bit where I'm not sure, but the way I read it in the rules, if you've got minus 800 trait points, and you can have minus 800 trait points, but if you've got minus 800 trait points, you can't take any more optional trait points as negatives, but those aren't taken away, so you can go through several careers racking up negative trait points, but you can't optionally take any more, whereas this character actually can optionally take more, which is not going to. To counter illiterate then requires 4 levels in a language, so he's going to require 4 levels in German. And at the moment he's on 3 levels of German, so for next level he needs 40, so we just put 40 in and he's got it. We'll give him basic English, although I do find it funny that he doesn't speak much English at level 0 English. They'll keep that as part of the character generation actually, that his English is very broken. Okay, perception's a big one. I'm going to put 60 in that straight away. I might even come back and put more into that. Martial arts, again, we want this guy to be a tough guy. So, unspent 5, so I've got to put minus 5 there, and minus 5 there. So, martial arts, we're definitely going to have big, 50. Small arms, definitely going to be well trained. I think I must put this up to 6, so 50, and then I need 60 more, which makes 110. Navigation, I'll come back to that one. MedTech, I like the idea of this guy being a good paramedic, so I'm going to give him 50 in that. I've got 256, my points are slowly going down here. Tactics, he knows his tactics, so let's give him 40 in that. Career soldier, I think he deserves a bit more of a career soldier, so I'm going to give him 20 more in that. Stealth, let's make this guy very stealthy, 110 extra. Okay, got 86 left. Climbing, he's very good at climbing trees, let's give him 90 in that. Survival, I do want him to be better at survival, so I'm going to give him 30. And now I'm running out of points, so now what I want to do is I want to think, what extra negatives might we give him that he could have. So not poor vision, not rank, not patient. Already got rid of illiterate. Again, we could take his equipped down. So at the moment he's limited to basic rifles and class C. Actually, that's equipped's a problem. He's going to need more in equipped. So actually we might have to scale back some of these skills. That might be a bit too much. So his climbing skill, let's keep that as 40. If he has if he still has equipped minus 100, it means he can't take a BattleTech that's technologically level D. It links him to tech level C, which is a bit of a problem for the character. Rank, can't really do much about. Owned, we could say he doesn't own his vehicle. I think, yeah, maybe this is the idea. We'll say he doesn't own his BattleTech. So we'll get 200 points that way. So his BattleTech is owned by the mercenary company, and that gives us plenty of XP to spend. And I did want to go back to animal empathy, because I do like the idea of that for this character, and I do like the idea of the good eyesight or good hearing. And now we're really racking up the points here. He's already on very low wealth, reputation. Don't want to put anything. Introvert, can't spend any more points than introvert because it can only be -1. Could take up his enemy to -200. Might be an easy way of doing it. That's a nice way. Compulsion. So this is an interesting one. So compulsion, and this fits with the character quite well. Compulsion level 1 is not serious. It's a roleplay quirk, really. Sleeps outdoors. He doesn't like sleeping in confined rooms. He's slightly claustrophobic. Just slightly. He just gets uncomfortable in it. So again, it doesn't make you make any tests. If you take it higher, you have to start making tests. So we're going to give him -100. And I could take one more. I could actually take that as a psychosis if I wanted to. Significant sufferer suffers -3 to dice rolls. Personal quirk cover says -1 to all dice rolls. So actually, he could get a -1 to all dice rolls while he's indoors. That's quite a serious one. He actually doesn't like being indoors. Anything else? I think that's about it. I don't think we want to give him too many other negative characteristics. Again, there are loads more I think that you can have. Dependent. That's an interesting one. Yeah, of course, he is the tough macho man, and he has to have the kid that you didn't know about, that the mother has died or something's happened to the mother and he's being left with this kid to look after. Typical story. Happens all the time. All these tough military types dragging around their usually 10-year-old daughters who are able to spot things that the hardened military people aren't. So he's got 116 points left to spend now, and he's maxed out his amount of negative characteristics he can have. So really now I can either put another 100 points into the... Actually, I think another 100 points in Edge. Edge is very special. It's like Karma. It gives you points to re-roll. And 16 points is enough to get a skill up a bit. Interest. I think we missed this off when we wrote it in because we didn't put it in. So when did he get an interest? So this is sometimes the problem. There's so much bookkeeping to make the characters, you miss something off. So I think when he was doing Tour of Duty, he might have had an interest. Let's just check that. Tour of Duty. No, you don't get interest with Tour of Duty there. Periphery. Yeah, interest any plus 20. So that should have been already on 20. Forgot to type that one in. And we've got 16 more points. So it's 10 more points for the next level. So anything that requires 10 more points. Gunnery mech. Oh, now that's a problem. So I've completely overlooked gunnery mech. So I think to give him some chance of shooting something, let's drop stealth down to 50, which is level 5. And gunnery mech can go up to 60 points in gunnery mech. So he's gunnery 5, piloting 4. Bit of a reversal here, but that makes sense with the character because the character is about piloting, not about shooting. is also not very good with the sensors. So maybe we'll drop small arms down to 5. So let's drop that down to 90. 50. So it's cost quite a lot of XP to go from 5 to 6. And let's take the sensors up to 10 for the next level, 20 for the next level, so that's 30 in total, and another 30, 60. So he's got sensors free because he's going to be in a scout mech. So gives us 16 points left, and isn't really much you can do with 16 points. So that's just going to be banked for future experience points. So overall, we are now done. The last thing left to do is to roll his mech, because when you take a mech, and it's 1 point for a light battle mech, 3 points for a medium, 5 for a heavy, and so on. And when you take the mech, you have to roll randomly. There's a trait called custom vehicle. Custom vehicle, I think if you get it 2 points, it allows you to choose the mech from the random assignment table, as opposed to rolling it. And if you get 5 points and you're a clan player, you can start choosing clan omni-mechs or clan second line mechs, and that gets quite powerful. So if you're doing clan characters or even non-clan characters, you could end up with a clan mech. But this guy has just got a light mech, which fits with the character. He's a scout both in and out of the mech, a combined arm scout. And now we can finally give him a name. Christoph Dieter. Infantry scout. And he's going to be quite at home either out of his mech scouting around or in his mech scouting around. Very, very good set of attribute skills there. Charisma 1 I've got to check, but I can always swap the edge into charisma to check that, to see whether you can start with a skill with 0 XP. Let's just have a look, see if I can find a rule very quickly. So right at the end of character creation on page 97, there's this section on optimization, and the optimization cannot reduce any attribute to a level 0 unless said attribute, trait or skill is a positive stat. So you can have charisma 0. I don't know if that has any particular effects. I'll have to look back at the actual kind of basic gameplay for the description of the attributes. Does it actually have a description of what charisma 0 would be, or do we want to have charisma 1? Yeah, I mean 1 is feeble and don't really want below 1. Oh, in addition, all characters' actions attempted using attributes reduced to a value of 0 automatically. No, that's not what I want. Doesn't say. Probably does somewhere. That's obviously something to look at. But obviously having a low attribute effect impacts all your skill tests. So let's change it just to be safe and make that 130. So that's 100. So he's got a charisma of 1 and edge of 1. And there we go. Now if I wanted to print this, I could just, it's already set up to do that, but you can just highlight all of this area here and set that as the print area and just print that off as a sheet, and that will print it off. And you'll be done, and you don't really need the rest of the stuff here. And then when you rank up the character, you can just add your experience to this section. You can change this experience here to increase your characters, and just change this flex column here to spend them for character advancement. The one thing this sheet doesn't do yet is it doesn't have specializations. Specializations can be in a particular weapon, like energy weapons, or it could be a particular very, very specific area, and they cost 20 XP, but they have to be at the GM's approval. And the other one is SPAs aren't on here, and this is just a character generation. It doesn't have all of the equipment, so you'd have to go away and then look at the rules for what you'd get with your equipment. So obviously the character really doesn't have much other than his basic equipment for 0 equipped and wealth minus 305. Should be minus 195. There we go. So those should all be even numbers, and then all of these numbers here should be 0, because you should have the exact numbers for the skills. So that's all a legal character as far as I know. I've got 11 points left over. Can't really do anything with 11 points unless there's anything that takes 10 to increase. No, can't do anything with 11 points. So there we go. So that's a character generation for a Time of War. It takes a while. I've done quite a few characters here, and you can create characters with the 5,000 XP all the way up to heavy mech. Quite difficult to make a character with an assault mech. Obviously you could lower your attributes and they wouldn't be as good, and then you start getting into the roleplay problems of having characters with really, really silly low attributes, or not being good in particular areas. But you can pretty much make any archetype and turn them into a mech warrior at the end. So if you make a policeman, if you make a spy, you make a doctor, all you've got to do is at the end, when you're doing your final XP, is give them some gunnery, give them some piloting skill, and you can turn them into a mech pilot or a vehicle pilot. It's not that hard to do. Of course, you could have characters that haven't got those skills at all and are just them, but then it wouldn't be BattleTech. But you might have that. You might have characters who completely have no piloting skill. But even things like technicians have a very low piloting skill for mechs, like because they have to drive them in and out of the bays and stuff like that. Okay, hopefully that's good, and we'll be doing a few more things about our campaign as we develop it. And it's been a bit of a long podcast, but it takes a little while. I wanted to go through the whole process. If you want a copy of the spreadsheet, I will put a link later in the notes, or PM me, and you can find me on Facebook at Stratocast Level 3, or you can find me on Discord through our BattleTech UK Southeast group, or in a variety of other Discord groups, or drop a message on this YouTube channel. Okay, until next time, goodbye.